Mad Panic Gaming. Crazy! What's up, everybody? Jim here. Welcome back for another epic game hunt. Today, once again, in the neighborhood of Akihabara, and we are taking a look at nothing but PS2 games today. It's going to be shoot-em-ups, beat-em-ups, platformers, even the odd RPG here and there. So I hope you're ready, because that's what's coming up next. Alright, getting started. First up with Trader, and as you can see, that a lot of PS2 games to take a look at. 3 walls full of games, actually, so plenty to check out. Starting with, for $29.80, Ikito-sen Shining Dragon, which is a fairly standard 3D beat-em-up. It's based on the anime series, which I think came out in the mid-2000s. I remember it being one of the final anime I watched sort of in my mid-late teens, right before I kind of started to lose interest in anime. Just kind of your standard, a bunch of high school girls beat each other up, with their martial arts skills. So I guess it made good fodder for a beat-em-up. Gonna be taking a look at a lot of beat-em-ups today, actually. Oddly enough. This game right here, though, Initial D Special Stage for $14.80, so still very affordable. I do love the Initial D games. Probably my favorite Sega racing games, actually. Daytona is awesome, Sega Rally, all that good stuff. But what can I say? I loved me some Initial D back in my teen years, going to Aladdin's Castle at the mall, having our Initial D cards and racing against our friends. That was always a good fun. We got some what is that, Grow Lancer? I have no idea what the hell. And something else, which I'm also not familiar with. Global Folktale? What the hell is that? But this Gregory Horror Show Soul Collector, which I think this got an English release. It's a weird little Capcom. It looks cutesy, but it actually is a fairly creepy, sort of little survival horror game. Interesting stuff. This, though, Grimoire, by Vanillaware, I believe. One of their... I think this just got re-released, actually, but a pretty cool, real-time strategy game. I was a bigger fan of, Odin Sphere and their action games, But Grimoire is pretty cool. There was a time in my life where I did, RTS games. In particular, I enjoyed Warcraft 2 back in the day, but Grimoire, pretty cool game. If you like RTSs, I would recommend checking it out. And for $53.80, so it's going up in price recently, Gradius 5, published by Konami, but actually developed by Treasure, which is cool because Treasure was initially formed by former Konami developers. So here they are, working in tandem, making a very good shoot-em-up, but also a fairly tough shoot-em-up, which Gradius games are usually tough, and usually I'm not the biggest fan of Treasure shooters. I don't really like Radiant Silvergun or Ikaruga, but they did a really good job with Gradius, so I was happy with that. Here we just have a whole bunch of the Neo Geo King of Fighters, some of them individual games, some of them collections. They're pretty cool. Gradius 3 and 4, very cool. 3 being my favorite, more 5. Shikigami no Shiro, some other cool stuff. Fatal Frame. Lots and lots of goodies to be found in here. This is a place you can spend a long time if you're building a PS2 collection. We have these Taito Arcade Memories collections. These things are great. They're just filled with lots and lots of arcade games. Taito Memories 2, I believe, is the one with Rastan Saga 3, which is awesome. The Sega Ages 2500 games, which is kind of ironic. You can see all these really great games. They have the original versions plus updated versions on there. Ironic that these were initially sold as budget titles, and then over time some of them became very rare and expensive. Here we have Raito Kuzunoa versus the Army of Darkness, I believe, which is part of the Shin Megami Tensei series. It's kind of divisive, I think, among the fan base for that series. It's more of a straight-up action RPG with some like investigative elements to it. Pretty cool series, a fun game I enjoyed quite a bit. But it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's pretty good. Again, obviously by Atlas. Hosts all those games. They have a bunch of RPGs in here, so if you want to pick up some PS2 RPGs, they are very inexpensive these days. More of these Neo Geo collections with Fatal Fury and Samurai Spirits. Sunsoft collection, that's very cool. Persona 3, Phantasy Star, Fate, Unlimited Codes, Melty Blood, Actress again, that's $48.80, which is actually pretty cheap for that game. I don't mind telling you. Here we got 11,600 yen, so an expensive one. Nippon Omori something or other. Kind of a, fun, cool, quirky little like sumo, I don't know, like a sumo simulator, I guess. Kind of an expensive game, though, oddly enough. So if you've got an emulator like PCSX or something like that that can just run PS2 games, you want to give it a try. That's usually, like, if you're going to try before you buy, that's something, like, emulators are good for. A lot of people don't appreciate that. Some of these games are a little expensive, but not outrageous. Give it a try before you buy. Why not? 11,800 yen for this ADK collection. Got Aggressors of Dark Combat, Ninja Masters, Twinkle Star Sprites, and a couple others. I think Ninja Commando, which is one of my personal favorite 80K games. Ninja Combat is okay, but Ninja Commando, that's where it's at, baby. I do love me some running and gunning. But replace the guns with ninja stars and fireballs. Hey, Super Potato! What do you know? Back in the potato that is super. And right here, Samurai Spirits collection for $49.28. And it comes with, I believe, six different Samurai Spirits games. So that's a lot of bang for your buck. And they're good conversions, too. All of these Neo Geo PS2 collections and conversions, they're all quite good. I think they're all converted directly from the MVS carts and stuff. So that's nice. Neo Geo Battle Coliseum. Kind of a fun little oddity in the SNK Neo Geo fighting game world. Take a bunch of characters from all the different Neo Geo fighters and throw them into one game. It's kind of the, I don't know, like the Smash Brothers. It's not a Smash, but it's in that same vein. Take a bunch of different characters from different properties and smash them together with okay results, at least. Spectral versus Generation. This kind of an obscure, unsung PS2 fighter. Good stuff. It's, I don't know, like, to me it's in that same vein. Like, there are a ton of fighting games like this where it's just all about, like, racking up those quick combos and things. I feel like after Guilty Gear, there were just a ton of games in that same vein where it's just all about the combos and the elaborate anime characters and things like that. So it's not a Arc System Works game, but it's in that same vein. I've got some Kinikuma, 71.28 though. Good God. Fighting Vipers, this is pretty cool. The value pack, if it's still a value, I don't know, you tell me. It's got the Street Fighter 2 Anniversary Collection and the Vampire Anniversary Collection as well in a single package. So that's pretty cool. And some Melty Blood Actress again, which is going up in price these days on the PS2. But believe it or not, the Switch Melty Blood game is actually more expensive than even the PS2 version of Actress again. Act Cadenza is still like a very cheap game. You can pick it up for like $10. Actress again is more in the like $60 range. Actually, $54.78 here, so that's much cheaper than I typically see it going for. Super Potato, you're doing all right today. Hey, that's nice. They're not going too crazy on some of these prices. And we got some Dodonpachi Daiojo, 82.28 on this one, though. Great game, really good. The PS2 version is solid, but now you can actually pick up the Dodonpachi Daiojo M2 Shot Triggers version. You can pick it up on your PS4, on your Switch. I have the Switch version myself. and it's fantastic. You know, Switch shoot 'em ups tend to get some criticisms for having input delays and stuff. I can attest there's like little or no input delay at all. I mean, has to be some, but I imagine it's like 2 or 3 frames even on the Switch, so it's a great conversion. So you don't really need the PS2 version anymore. Speaking of, Trigger Heart Excelica on the PS2, which is great. But here I'm actually showing footage, oh my god, dun, 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 from the Switch version. Because, yeah, Trigger Heart Excelica was recently released for the Switch, and it's really good. Like, it's a great game. You know, it was good on the Dreamcast, it's good on the PS2, but you can pick it up on your Switch now, or probably also like your PS4. Pick it up digitally if you want to as well. $76.78 here. The Switch version definitely does not cost that much. We've got some of these Tkyo collections here, $76.78 also for this one, with Sengoku Ace and Sengoku Blade. That's another thing, like the all of these Tkyo shooters have also been released in little collections as well. The Gunbird games, the Sengoku games. We got some Sinjaria here, some Thunder Force 6. Alrighty. And Strikers 1945 1 and 2. Again, the Strikers games, I think 3 of the 4 of them have all been released on modern consoles in the form of various collections. These Tkyo shooting collections, and they're awesome. Some more of the old Taito arcade memories. 93.28 on this one, so that's in the neighborhood of like, I don't know, $65 or so. But there are a lot of games in these, a lot of really good arcade conversions. You know, I play a lot on MAME and Final Burn Neo. But those are still some decent collections worth picking up if you got a PS2 anyway. $76.28 for this Akumajo Dracula. It's actually the arcade game, aka Haunted Castle, I do believe, which is a fun little game. You wouldn't go playing it before, I don't know, like Castlevania 4 or Symphony of the Night. Like, you wouldn't play it before one of the better console Castlevania games, but as just a quick, fun little arcade game, yeah. It ain't bad. I can play some Haunted Castle. Again, MAME, Final Burn Neo, something like that. You don't have to spend, you know, $76.28 on it, which is in the neighborhood, like, it's like $50 or so. Then we have Rockman Power Battle Fighters for $4,048, which is actually a good price on that, too. So that's nice. But if you've never played these, they are the Mega Man arcade games. I think they've gotten ports recently. There's like a modern version. I think you get them digitally or as part of some like Mega Man collections or whatever, but they're fun. It's just basically just the boss battles from Mega Man games with some nice visuals, cool music. And who doesn't love them? Some Mega Man, the Blue Bomber. He's blue, he bombs things, why not? We got all these East games here. For those of you who didn't know, East 3, Wanderers from East, but a bunch of the older East games. I mean, you just saw it, East 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I believe 5 as well. They all got PS2 versions, and as you can see, pretty cool. Got some updated graphics. They didn't really do, like, too much to, like, change the... They didn't change the stories at all, and the gameplay is still very much in keeping with those original games. So 3 was a side-scrolling kind of action platforming RPG, and so is the PS2 version, and it's short. If you've ever played through East 3, you know you can finish it in a few hours, but they're fun. Good stuff. Alright, Super Potato, you're doing okay today. You're not hurting anyone's feelings today, Super Potato. We got a lot more good stuff here. We got some Densha Day Go. We've got, I think, still my favorite Dragon Quest game, Dragon Quest VIII, although I do also love DQ11. That one was really good, and Dragon Quest V as well. Yeah, so good stuff. Dragon Quest VIII, actually one of the few RPGs that I've completed in both English and Japanese. I like it that much. This one, pretty cool game. Actually, I had the English version of this game a long time ago. It's Hajime no Ippo, Victorious Boxers. This is one of those games where when you were at like Funko Land, and you had like a little bit of store credit left over after buying the game you really wanted to buy. You had like $10 left, so you just went and found like a $10 game. That was how I originally played this game, and you know, was surprised by it and enjoyed it. It's, you know, whatever, an okay boxing game, but I had never read the manga or seen the anime, And I was just enjoying the story playing through the game. 308 yen, though. That's like, what, $2 maybe? Like, they're practically giving that one away. We got some Persona 3. We got a bunch more stuff. So Super Potato, a modest but pretty well stacked PS2 selection. We're in Sudagaya now. And wow, do they have a lot of PS2 games. You could be in here all day long. Starting off, another beat 'em up. Shockingly enough, 5,500 for Cowboy Bebop. Serenade of Remembrance, I believe it is. I reviewed this game like years and years ago. I just had it in my collection. It was like a $10 game back then. For the most part, it's a beat 'em up. You'd have beat 'em up segments with both Spike and Faye and Jet as well. And there are also shooting segments, and then there are also like segments where you pilot your little individual craft. I forget what it's called, but it's a one-seater. But the Cowboy Bebop game on PS2, pretty cool. The one on PS1 is just a straight-up like rail shooter kind of thing. But the one on PS2 mixes it up a little bit. It's pretty good. And I don't know how to play Mahjong, and I don't like visual novels and dating sims. Ultraman too, though. Even though like I like Ultraman, but Ultraman games always suck. Or at least almost always suck. We've got some Shut Your Mouth, because it's Exciting Pro-Res Volume 4. Why did I say Volume 4? It's just Exciting Pro-Res 4. In case you didn't know, that's what they call the SmackDown games over here. 3,100 for SVC Chaos. Fantastic game. Again, kind of Capcom's turn at it. There, you can argue amongst yourselves what's better, the Capcom versus SNK or SVC Chaos. Personally, I like Capcom versus SNK too. I think a lot of people will agree. That's of all of the Capcom versus SNK games, that is the best one. Just a huge roster, plenty of variety in the gameplay. But SVC Chaos, I do like it a lot. It has its fans. Gunslinger Girl 3 for 1,500 yen. And these are just, they're dumb. They're kind of just very basic little third-person shooters where you take little anime girl waifu characters, I guess, and you go around shooting things. Obviously, you can shoot helicopters, you can shoot people, you can shoot anything. I really feel like these, because I know it's an anime series as well. I feel like this had to be inspired by like Leon, like the professional with what's her face, Natalie Portman. Like I feel like it has to be inspired by that, because she intends to kill someone in that movie, but she never actually does. 5,800 for Akira Psycho Ball, which is okay, whatever. I like some video pinball, but this is not making the most of this property. There's so much you could do with Akira, and you turn it into a video pinball game. Kind of crushes my spirits, actually, because I did end up playing the prototype that had been made for the Akira game that was going to be on the Sega Genesis. And it's very basic. There's not much to it, but at least you can see that there's like something there. It could be made into a cool like Road Rash type game with some other cool gameplay stuff thrown in. It could be like Road Rash, it could be beat 'em up segments, it could be shooting segments, it could be all kinds of stuff you could do with it. And they instead made pinball. Another one of the Taito arcade memories. This one I think more expensive than it was in the other ones, in the other stores. Over 7,000 yen. But there you go. Again, I sing the virtues. MAME, Final Burn Neo. They're awesome. This interesting enough game, published by Konami, Tough Dark Fight for 1,600. Sounds like a name that they would have come up with on Mystery Science Theater 3000. Chuck Heartsteak. Tough Dark Fight. But yeah, it's fairly mediocre. Not so great little 3D fighter. I feel like it had to have been inspired by like Grappler Baki, right? That's been a popular thing for a long time. Actually, a little later, I think we'll see like another game from the same artist, the Garodin games. Yeah, but I feel like Tough Dark Fight is kind of aping off of that. Like, oh, Baki the Grappler's pretty popular right now. Let's do some of that. The Rockman Collection for 26,800 yen. But that's quite the collector's item if you're a Rockman fan. I know plenty of them. But oh man, it's just kind of overwhelming. Look at all these damn games. We got some Fire Pro. We've got a bunch of racing games, shoot 'em ups. 4500 by Irem, Bumpy Trots. If you're saying, what the hell is Bumpy Trots? It is Steambot Chronicles, which, just like the Hajime no Ippo game, this was a game that I bought secondhand from, it was either Funko Land or it had already been converted into a GameStop at that point. But this is one of those games where I went in to buy something in particular, and then I had like a little left over, and so I was just like looking around, and I had never heard of Steambot Chronicles before, but it was like $10. So I picked it up and had a lot of fun with it. For the most part, it's a fairly leisurely, fun little game, but then you got your little combat sections. Bleach for 500, one of the Bleach games, I'm not sure which. There's like a bunch of them. There's Blade Battlers and other kinds of things. There's so much Bleach, it'll turn your hair white. Yeah, so again, just if you were looking for PS2 games, if you come into a place like Suragaya, you could be here for quite a long time because they have a ton of stuff. We got some box sets and things up here. That's all lovely. And some more box sets down here as well. If you want to play some Denshide Go or some fishing games, dance games, this is pretty cool. For 3,400 yen, it is a slime controller, which I've never played with. It looks very uncomfortable. 3,100, Bloody Roar 4. I do enjoy the Bloody Roar series. Bloody Roar 2 is my favorite. That was the first one I played, actually, and to this day, I still really enjoy it. But if it's got Bloody Roar in the title, I'll be happy to play it. And Bloody Roar 4, not bad. By Hudson Soft. So there you go, Hudson Soft. They know their way around a video game. But carry on. What's next, Jim? You tell me. I don't know. Ah, here we are. Retro Game Camp. Which their PS2 selection is the most modest of all the shops in town. But they did have some cool stuff. Starting with this. Gado Den Break Blow, which I just mentioned. The same artist as the Grappler Baki series, and it's pretty cool. It's a 3D fighter, but they tried to make it feel like almost more of like an MMA 3D fighter kind of thing. So there's like, and you can like target body parts, and there's kind of like a tug of war thing going on instead of just health bars. But the lower your health bar goes, the easier it is to move the little tug of war bar in your direction, and it's pretty cool. All things considered, it takes some getting used to. It's not your typical 3D fighting game, but once you understand the mechanics, it's pretty fun. And there's a really good sequel as well. Mark of the Wolves on the PS2, very nice. 4480 for the Real Bout collection, which I love me some Real Bout. And then the original Fatal Fury collection, 4980, which is quite a lot considering. Again, I say, I don't want to keep like harping on it, but all of these like arcade collections that have all these various games in them, there are things out there like, I don't know, just recently, especially when it comes to arcade games, because I myself, I don't have arcade stuff at home. I couldn't even fit it in my apartment. So I'm big on MAME and Final Burn Neo these days. 50% off of this copy of Eco, and it's already just like, what, $760? Or $780, so take $780, cut it in half, and that's how much it costs. And that's quite inexpensive. So there you go. It's like, what, 300 and, I don't know, 300, not 360. I don't know what it is. 880, I'm not a math guy, sorry. 880 for Guilty Gear X, or is it X or is it Accent Core? Or Guilty Gear X Slash, and then there's Guilty Gear XX Accent Core for 1780. There's so many Guilty Gears in the titles, they get a little bit elaborate, don't they? And then we have a copy of, what is it, Jim? It's Kinnikuman. I think Kinnikuman Generations, which was released stateside at least. I think this was called like Ultimate Muscle, or it's something or other, Galactic Wrestling featuring Ultimate Muscle. That's what it's called. And this was another game I did enjoy back in the day. One that I picked up on a whim when I saw it, again, secondhand at, it was either a GameStop or a Funko Land. It was very cheap. It was not exactly a hot seller. But I had fun with it. They're kind of, you know, quirky, weird little... kind of more like a fighting game than a wrestling game. But pretty cool indeed. What else we got? We got Crazy Taxi. I can't go too much on the Crazy Taxi voice. I got to save my voice here. I have more voiceovers to do today. But Crazy Taxi, one of my all-time favorite arcade games. It never gets old. Despite how simple it is, it does not get old. And don't argue with me on that. You know it's true. You love your Crazy Taxi. We got all these King of Fighters games. And they're all awesome. There's 2000, 2002, 2003, 2001, 11, etc., etc., etc. And they're all great. But again, they're good conversions, but they're just more ways now to play those games. Here, something really cool, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind by Capcom. And I remember seeing this in magazines back in the day. It was either PSM or official PlayStation. I can't remember which. But this was initially slated to have an official English release. You can play a translated version now if you pick up the ROM. You can play it on like PCSX and whatever else. It's a fun enough game though. It's pretty cool. It kind of bounces back and forth between gameplay styles, which you have to do because all the characters in JoJo, they all have such different power sets, and you can never have just one uniform game. But then we have the first JoJo game, 980, which this one is actually by Bandai. It's not by Capcom, and it's not as good, mind you. But this one is just more or less just like a straight-up beat-em-up. It kind of reminds me of... there was a Fist of the North Star beat-em-up on the PS1, actually. This feels almost like a follow-up to that. Although I actually do prefer that PS1 Fist of the North Star game, just because I'm more of a fan of Fist of the North Star than JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Actually, I don't think I've ever actually seen an episode of the show or read any of the manga, even though I do have friends who are huge JoJo fans. Third Strike for $11.80, and that's still nice, fairly inexpensive. That's like an $8 game, so you can't go wrong with that. Third Strike, one of the greatest fighting games ever made. And the Zero Collection, which is great, but all you really need is 03, if you ask me, and then EX3, which I'm not the biggest fan of the EX games, but the original on the PS1, Street Fighter EX Plus Alpha, is my favorite of the bunch. We got some 10 something or other, 10 this, 10 that, some Denshidego 3, which actually I know some people that love the Denshidego games, and Tenchu. Fatal Shadows for $6.80. I have been a huge fan of the Tenchu series for a very long time. And this one was, you know, it's basic. It's basically just like repeating the same old Tenchu formula again after Wrath of Heaven. But that's fine. I didn't really care. I like stories about ninjas that go around and stealthily kill people, and there's bad guys and bad gals, and they have cool ninja powers and stuff. And the Tenchu games, they just always had great graphics and sound design and fun characters and stories. So I was really into it. I was a big Tenchu fan back in the day, and still am to a lesser extent, even though there haven't really been any Tenchu games as of late. Anyway, that was a whole bunch of PS2 games, and I'm getting a little bit hoarse. And hay is for horses. So hey, I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.